Long before the world knew them as the Prince and Princess of Wales, they were just two young students trying to find their way at the University of St. Andrews in Scotland. It was the year 2001, and the historic town was buzzing with the energy of fresh new beginnings. Catherine Middleton, a bright and athletic young woman from a modest but ambitious middle-class family, arrived on campus carrying more than just her luggage. She was also carrying the quiet ache of a recent heartbreak, a high school romance that had ended painfully when her boyfriend lost interest and they headed to different universities. She was determined to focus on her studies and move forward. Meanwhile, William, the son of the late Princess Diana and second in line to the British throne, was trying to have a normal university experience away from the relentless gaze of the press. He arrived a bit later than the other students, and when they finally met, Catherine was incredibly nervous. As she would later confess in an interview, she turned bright red the first time she saw him and quickly scurried away, too shy to stick around. Despite that awkward first encounter, they soon found themselves living in the same student halls and later sharing a flat with friends. What blossomed between them was not an immediate fairy tale romance, but something perhaps more valuable: a solid friendship. William found Catherine to be a sympathetic ear, someone who didn't treat him differently because of his title. When he felt homesick or overwhelmed, she was there to listen. And they discovered they had a lot in common: a love for the outdoors, a competitive streak in sports like tennis and rugby, and a down-to-earth approach to life. For William, being friends first was the perfect foundation. It allowed them to see each other's true characters without the pressure of a royal courtship. Catherine, on the other hand, was in no rush. She was still healing from her past and was content to have a close-knit group of friends that included the future king. For about a year, their relationship remained platonic. William was even dating other people, and Catherine was focused on her art history studies. But fate had a dramatic moment planned for them in 2002. The university was holding a charity fashion show, and Catherine, wanting to support the cause, agreed to walk the runway. She chose an outfit designed by Charlotte Todd, a sheer black dress that was meant to be a skirt, but was styled as a daring see-through ensemble. William was in the audience, and he had paid a good amount of money for a front-row seat. He was expecting to see his friend Kate have some fun on stage. What he got was a completely different view. As Catherine walked down the runway in the revealing dress, William's jaw dropped. Leaning over to his friend, he reportedly exclaimed in amazement, "Wow, Kate's hot!" In that instant, the friendly, comfortable girl he ate breakfast with transformed into someone entirely captivating. That night was the turning point. After the show, they were seen sharing drinks and sharing a kiss, marking the official start of their romantic relationship. Interestingly, as Catherine's own friends had predicted this long before William caught on. They used to tease her, joking that one day she would be wearing a tiara because they could see the undeniable chemistry between the two. For Catherine, who was still guarded because of her previous heartbreak, it took William's gentle persistence and genuine personality to finally break down her walls. He wasn't just a prince, he was a man who made her feel seen and valued, helping her move past the pain of her first love. As university life came to an end in 2005, the couple graduated and stepped out of their cozy academic bubble and into the harsh light of the real world. William enrolled in the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst, a demanding path that required most of his focus and time. Catherine, meanwhile, took a job as an accessory buyer for the clothing chain Jigsaw. The easy, spontaneous days of seeing each other between classes were over, replaced by long stretches of separation and the constant pressure of the paparazzi. The media scrutiny was relentless and often cruel. Because William seemed in no hurry to propose, the British press cruelly dubbed Catherine "Weighty Katie," portraying her as a social climber desperately hanging on for a ring. They dissected her family's background, mocking her mother's former career as a flight attendant and implying that the Middletons were not good enough for the royals. The pressure from his family also mounted, with reports that his father, Prince Charles, had urged him to either commit to Catherine or release her so she could get on with her life. The stress became too much. In April 2007, after nearly 5 years together, the strain reached a breaking point. William, feeling suffocated and uncertain about his future, made a decision that would break both their hearts. In a devastating 30-minute phone call, he told Catherine it wasn't working and that they needed space. For Catherine, who was at work when the call came, the news was a crushing blow. She had invested everything in this relationship, and now it had ended not with a fight, but with a distant voice on the other end of the line, leaving her to pick up the pieces of her shattered fairy tale. In the aftermath of the split, the world watched to see what the two would do. William, initially appearing to relish his freedom, was spotted partying at trendy London nightclubs like Monarchy. On one such night, he was even overheard shouting, "I'm free!" before doing a drunken dance, behavior that seemed to confirm he was happy to be single again. Catherine, however, responded in a way that would ultimately define her strength of character. Instead of hiding away, she refused to be seen as a victim. She threw herself into her social life with a newfound confidence, going out with her sister Pippa, the press even nicknamed them the Sizzler Sisters, and dressing in glamorous, eye-catching outfits. She was seen at clubs, at sporting events, and even caught the attention of other eligible bachelors. More importantly, she focused on herself, later revealing that this period made her a stronger person, teaching her things about herself she hadn't realized before. This display of resilience and independence had a profound effect on William. Seeing photographs of Catherine looking happy, confident, and utterly unbothered by his absence made him question his decision. The carefree partying began to feel hollow. He realized that what he had with Catherine was unique and that he might have lost the best thing in his life forever. The tables had completely turned. The woman he had let go was now the one person he couldn't stop thinking about. Fate, however, wasn't done with them yet. A mutual friend, jockey Sam Whaley Cohen, was throwing a costume party with a freaking naughty theme. Both William and Catherine were invited. Catherine arrived dressed as a sexy nurse, a far cry from the demure, carefully styled girl the world usually saw. She was radiant, confident, and having fun. When William saw her across the room, something clicked. He made a beeline for her, and they spent the first part of the evening deep in conversation, catching up and talking about everything they had been through. The initial awkwardness melted away, replaced by the familiar comfort they had always shared. Eventually, they hit the dance floor, and by the end of the night, they were kissing, much to the delight of their friends who had always rooted for them. It was a sensual, passionate reunion that proved their connection was far from over. They decided to keep their reconciliation quiet at first. They were determined to rebuild their relationship on stronger, more private ground, away from the media frenzy that had contributed to their breakup. William learned from his mistake. He understood that if he wanted her back, he had to be sure. They dated in secret for several months, solidifying their bond. Their first official public appearance as a couple again was at a concert commemorating the 10th anniversary of his mother's death, a clear signal to the world that they were back together and stronger than Eve. Having learned that their love could survive a breakup, William was finally ready to commit. In October 2010, during a private trip to Kenya, a place his mother had loved, he decided to propose. At a remote log cabin on the slopes of Mount Kenya, he presented Catherine with his mother's most precious possession, the stunning blue sapphire and diamond engagement ring that had once belonged to Princess Diana. It was his way of keeping his mother close to him on this most important day and of welcoming Catherine into the family. Her answer, of course, was a joyful yes. Their wedding in April 2011 was watched by billions, a spectacle of joy and tradition. But the real story of their love was not in the grandeur of Westminster Abbey. It was in the years that followed. It was in the quiet gestures, the way William would cook her simple meals like pasta bolognese when they were first dating, or the way they supported each other through the challenges of raising 3 children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, under the watchful eye of the public. The ultimate test of their bond came years later when Catherine was diagnosed with cancer. The fairy tale met its most brutal reality. Yet, through the fear and the treatment, William was a constant presence. He never left her side, providing the strength and privacy she needed to heal. Their story had come full circle, from 2 friends at university to lovers, to a broken couple, and to a reunited pair, and finally to partners who had faced the darkest of times together. It was in those quiet, unguarded moments of care and devotion that the true depth of their love warmed the hearts of the world, proving that the strongest fairy tales are the ones built on the solid ground of friendship, resilience, and unwavering support. The world watched with bated breath as Catherine stepped out of the Lindo wing of St. Mary's Hospital in July 2013, cradling her newborn son, Prince George. She looked effortlessly elegant, as always, wearing a blue polka-dot dress, with William nervously driving them away in their car. It was a moment that felt both historic and deeply personal. For William, becoming a father was an emotional milestone. He had lost his own mother when he was just 15, and the void she left had never truly filled. Now, holding his own son, he felt a profound connection to the mother he had lost and a fierce determination to be the present, loving father he never fully had. The early days of parenthood were a steep learning curve for both of them. Unlike previous generations of royals who relied heavily on nannies, William and Catherine were determined to do things their own way. They chose to raise George away from the constant chaos of London, settling into Anmer Hall, a quiet country home on the Queen's Sandringham estate in Norfolk. It was here that they could give their children something priceless: a normal childhood. Catherine, drawing from her own happy and grounded upbringing in Bucklebury, made sure the children learned to cook, spent hours outdoors, and understood the value of family. And she would often be seen pushing them on swings in local parks or taking them to soft play centers, just like any other young mother. The arrival of Princess Charlotte in 2015 and Prince Louis in 2018 completed their family. William threw himself into the chaos of 3 young children with a joy that surprised even himself. He spoke openly about the sleepless nights, the endless nappy changes, and the sheer volume of noise that filled their home. He admitted that fatherhood had changed him, making him more emotional and more sensitive to the suffering of others. Catherine, meanwhile, became the anchor of the family. She was the one who organized the birthday parties, planned the school runs, and created a warm, loving environment that felt safe from the pressures of their royal titles. They were a team, in navigating the beautiful chaos of raising a family while simultaneously fulfilling their ever-growing list of royal duties.